Hi folks, Bombastic Binge here, back with another binge watch session. It's been a while! And for those of you wondering why the hell the Legend Hero video was taking so long and where the hell it is, soon. I got distracted, but soon. Trust me. For now though, we are going to be taking a look at... Yep, it's back into the world of Tokusatsu we go, and just in time too, because the 43rd Sentai season, Kishiryu Sentai Ryu Soldier, debuted yesterday as of this recording. But we're not here to talk about that just yet. Instead, we are going to be looking at an action-packed miniseries that also serves as a prequel to the newest season. That's right, I am talking about Super Sentai Saikyo Battle! Or Strongest Battle if you don't want to sound like a weeb, but I don't give a shit about that kind of thing. Does this divergence from the norm hold up, or was it a complete waste of time? Let's find out right now by reviewing all 4 episodes of Super Sentai Saikyo Battle. Episode 1 starts with the Dokaijers getting absolutely curb-stomped by a mysterious purple warrior that also looks like a Sentai team member.
I am Korag, the Night Wolf. Who are you?
No, not him! Anyway, the entire team is defeated except Marvelous, although strangely enough, Luca, aka Dotai Yellow, is also missing from the skirmish, but we'll get back to that. For now, Marvelous charges at the Purple Warrior and gets bodied so hard that he demorphs, but not before noting that one of the attacks used by said Purple Warrior was Luta's signature move. Anyway, the Purple Warrior identifies itself as Geizord, and its goal is to seek out the strongest in the universe. Since none of the Dokaijers can match him, the strongest is clearly not there, so he takes his leave. Marvelous attempts to get back to his feet, but is stopped by the appearance of a mysterious golden ticket. Cue opening! Aside from the theme being an absolute banger, it also shows us the main ragtag team we will be following, which are as follows. Yamato Kazariki, aka Zuo Eagle from Dobutsu Sentai Zuoger. Stinger, aka Sasori Orange from Uchu Sentai Q Ranger. Captain Marvelous, aka Dokai Red from Kaizoku Sentai Dokaiger. Kagura Izumi, aka Tokyu Dodo from Resha Sentai Tokyuger. And finally, Takaharu Igasaki, aka Aka Ninja from Shuriken Sentai Ninja. I fully admit, I hate Takaharu. He's the reason why I dropped Ninja, so seeing him here does not invoke positive tidings. Regardless, after the opening, we cut to the Global Police Department's Japan branch, where Keiichiro, aka Patoran Ichigo from Lupin Ranger vs. Pato Ranger, is finishing up some late-night paperwork when he too receives a golden ticket, which immediately projects a holographic image and a message.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
No, not that one! This message informs Keiichiro that he has been enlisted into the Super Sentai Strongest Battle, and that if he wins, he will have any wish he desires. Before Keiichiro can get a further explanation of this, he is teleported to a far-off planet and placed in a bright, white waiting room, along with several other Super Sentai alumni, both in and out of their respective hero suits. The woman from the hologram appears and welcomes the heroes to planet Nemesis, introducing herself as Rita.
After 10,000 years, I'm free! It's time to conquer Earth!
No, not her! She explains that every 500 years, the planets align to create a miracle, and that she is the guardian of the Moebius connection. What does any of this have to do with her promise to grant the wish of the strongest battle's victor? Fucked if I know, because the show doesn't explain it. Rita then states that she's splitting everyone gathered into 32 teams of 5, and teleports everyone away. We cut to Yamato entering his team's room, and the 5 gain acquainted. After a small gag where everyone notices Stinger's tail and bugs him about it, it's noted that Marvelous is the last to introduce himself, but he tells them to fuck off and not talk to him. I would call him grumpy, but he did just watch his entire team get demolished, and one of them has been kidnapped, so I understand why he's not feeling very chummy. Rita then reveals that the fights are about to begin, and the first round will be Yamato, representing Team Weirdo, versus Keiichiro, representing Team Serious Business. While Tadra and Bakaharu lament about being called Team Weirdo, Yamato enters the battlefield where Keiichiro is waiting. Keiichiro explains that while he'd rather not fight his senpai, he will do whatever it takes to make his wish come true. Yamato retorts that this is not a fight to the death, but rather a test of strength, and that he does hope the best warrior wins. Rita interrupts to explain the rules. Each stage has a stone filled with energy from the Moebius connection, and it's the job of the fighters to see who can claim in the stones first. Whoever does will be transported back to the Nemesis Palace, and once all the stones are found, she will be able to grant the wish. With all the explanations out of the way, the fight begins! I gotta say, the fight choreography is fantastic! Not just between Patora and Ichigo and Zuo Eagle, but the other contestants as well, including Boken Silver versus Change Pegasus, Ole Yellow versus Yellow Racer, Doggle Black versus Dodo Green, Time Blue versus Ginga Red, Kirin Ranger versus Paint Flash, and Gao Red versus Dyna Black. After all these fight montages, we get back to the main skirmish, where Keiichiro and Yamato appear to be evenly matched. Yamato compliments Keiichiro on his skills, and Keiichiro laments that it's because he has a wish worth fighting for that he is giving it his all. When he reveals that his wish is world peace, Yamato demorphs and asks for Keiichiro to do the same so they can sit down and talk. And you know what the best part is? Keiichiro actually fucking listens! I guess being in the face of Sentai other than the Lupin Ranger makes him more reasonable. Regardless, the two talk things through and come to the conclusion that world peace is not something you can just wish for, but something that must be worked towards. So Keiichiro forfeits his fight in favor of Yamato and his wish. With that fight settled, the second round begins and we get another montage of battles, including Deca Master and Shinken Red versus Blue Dolphin and Yellow Turbo, and Blue Swan versus Time Green. Meanwhile, Yamato returns to his team's room where the others congratulate him on his win, although they're still curious as to what his wish could have been to make Keiichiro stop fighting. He admits to it being a secret, so we cut to another fight between Shurikenger, Ninja Man, and Signal Man versus Boken Yellow, Gao Black, and Green Sai. Weirdly enough, the team of 6 strangers doesn't win, but probably for the best, since the victors are immediately accosted by Dizord. The 3 put on their best effort, but it's all for naught in the face of his immense power. Meanwhile, Marvelous pulls the stick out of his ass long enough to tell his teammates about Dizord and his onslaught of the other Super Sentai teams. Everyone laments this turn of events, including Rita, who shows up out of fucking nowhere. After telling Team Weirdo that there will be extra security measures in place from here on out, she disappears again to announce the second round of fights, starting with Bakaharu and Stinger versus Boken Silver and Gohan Red. Again, the fight is very well done and include a lot of great character beats, including Stinger and Boken Silver interrogating each other between blows about the weird energy the planet emanates, which is preventing the Sentai from contacting their actual teams back on Earth. Their suspicions are confirmed after a stray attack connects with a barrier in the sky. After it seems that Team Vehicle has the upper hand, things go awry when the two bump into each other, causing them to demorph and take a break to eat their veggies. Okay. Anyway, this allows Bakaharu to secure the win for his team. But there's no time to celebrate, as he and Stinger immediately get attacked by Dizord. So much for those extra security measures. Marvelous runs off to fight him, and we then cut to a mysterious duo of never-before-seen Green Ranger and Black Ranger. They're talking about any possible wishes they may have, but are stopped by a dead end. This doesn't deter them for long, as the Black Ranger uses a Suyo Soul to grant himself enough power to cut through the stone and continue on their way, ending the episode. This was fantastic. The fights were great, the character interactions were a lot of fun, and the various mysteries surrounding Dizord and Rita and the 2 new Rangers makes everything extra interesting. But can they keep this momentum going? Let's find out in Episode 2. Episode 2 starts with a quick recap that ends on Dizord arriving and antagonizing Bakaharu and Stinger. The two quickly go on the offensive and even manage to hold their own against him, but that ends once Marvelous joins the fight unmorphed.
You're an idiot.
Dizord made short work of him, but is unable to finish him off due to interference from Bakaharu, who intercepts his finishing move. Left to lick their wounds, Marvelous then attacks Bataharu, but Stinger tells them to back off. Meanwhile, Rita is monologuing about how quickly the stones are being gathered, but is interrupted by Dizord's arrival. She tells him, no joke, that he is being a pain in the ass by attacking the other contestants and waltzing around uninvited, only for Dizord to shock her by revealing that he does in fact have an invitation. Before we can find out how he got it, we cut over to Team Weirdo's quarters, where Kagura is tending to Bataharu's wounds, and Yamato is interrogating Marvelous over the latter's dickish behavior. Marvelous, unfortunately, is in full tsundere mode and refuses to feel bad for his behavior, even when reminded of the previous time that he and Yamato teamed up. This gets interrupted by Rita revealing that, due to having an invitation, Dizord is now a legitimate member of the contestants and will be a part of the competition from here on out. Stinger comments that Dizord doesn't have a wish, since all he wants to do is fight strong opponents, so it makes no sense for him to be a part of the tournament. Yamato reasserts that they need to work together to get to the bottom of this, but Marvelous is still going full tsundere, never go full tsundere, and tells him off before leaving. Bataharu follows to try and talk some sense into him, and Kagura follows Bataharu since he is still all banged up from before. We cut to Stinger attempting to contact Tsurugi, the former Ho-Oh soldier who became Universal President after the events of Q-Ranger, but is unable to contact him due to mysterious interference. After a brief shot of Dizord without certain parts of his armor on, we cut back to Yamato just in time for Rita to reveal that the next round will be a 3-on-3 battle between him, Marvelous, and Stinger against Gao Red, Ginga Green, and Vol Shark. The only problem is that Marvelous and Stinger are nowhere to be found, so instead of waiting, Yamato requests that he fight alone, making it a handicap match. We then cut to Marvelous staring at the Aka Ranger key, which leads to a flashback of the Dole Rangers entrusting him with their power so he can defeat Dizord and defend the universe. This moment of introspection is interrupted by Bataharu and Kagura attempting to make him laugh. Now is not the time or the place, you two. Anyway, after a brief recap of Ninja's team dynamic convinces Marvelous to come back, somehow, we cut to Yamato on the battlefield, preparing to face Team Land, Sea, Air. After Kataru, Gao Red, confirms that Yamato is okay with fighting alone, he and his teammates morph and the battle begins. Once again, the fight choreography is spectacular, not just here, but also in the fights between Boten Yellow versus Doon Gold, Gosei Knight versus Ginga Blue, and Yellow Owl versus Zuban. Cutting back to Team Weirdo's room, we see Marvelous watching the fight and commenting on the hypocrisy of Yamato telling them to work together right before going to fight by himself. Dude? He wouldn't be fighting by himself if you just pulled the stick out of your ass. Anyway, Yamato gets his second win and drives off Team Land Sea Air momentarily. When Kakeru asks what promise could have given him this strength, Yamato flashes back to a boy he met in the hospital, whose dream was to overcome his illness and go on a safari to meet all the animals of the world. Unfortunately, due to said illness, his dream did not come true, and he wound up dying. Yamato's wish is to revive the boy and make his dream a reality for one day, so he can pass on without regret. This then leads to an awesome fight scene between the three versus Yamato, where he pulls out all the stops and completely squashes them, using both Zuo Gorilla and Zuo Whale to great effect. After the fight, Kakeru gives Yamato a pep talk, telling him that he has all the tools to be a great Red Ranger and leader, and that he just needs to remember to believe in his comrades. We then cut to Bataharu on his way to pick up Yamato, but he gets stopped by Dizord, who demands a fight. Bataharu tries to morph, but is interrupted and is forced to fight without his powers, which goes about as well as you would expect. Yamato makes it back to his team room without Bataharu and promptly apologizes to Marvelous for their communication issues before passing out. Rita then appears and announces that she is unleashing Dizord into the final match of the B-Block quarterfinals, prompting Marvelous to go stop him. The final fight, which is between Ole Red and Ninja White versus Ryu Ranger and Red Mask, stops when Dizord appears on the scene and challenges all four of them. As the fight begins, we cut to Stinger finding the source of the barrier, commenting that technology is not native to planet Nemesis, and using the planet's library to try and gather information, only to instead find that all of the books are based on nothing but Super Sentai. All the while, something is getting closer to him. Before we can find out what it is, Marvelous arrives to fight Dizord, and by using the powers of Deca Ranger and Hurricaneer, successfully drives him back to the point of knocking off his helmet, revealing the owner of the armor to be Takaharu?
Traitor!
Before we can get answers, we cut to the mysterious Green Ranger Black Ranger duo finding brand new toys! Reusals. However, one of the reusals does nothing, so they leave it and continue onwards, ending the episode. This one was really good. It got dragged down by the focus on Bataharu and Marvelous holding the Jackass ball, but it makes up for it in the fight department and by racking up the suspense and mystery. Will things get even better? Let's find out in Episode 3! Episode 3 starts with another recap that ends on Takaharu being revealed under the Dizord helmet. Before Marvelous can ask him how or why, Dizord attacks him hard enough to demorph him and walks away, leading to the opening. After the opening, the person trailing Sterner is revealed to be none other than Doggy Kruger from Tokusou Sentai Deca Ranger.
Hi, Doggy.
Yes, even I can't help but make a The Room joke. Moving on. Stinger asks how Kruger got there, and Kruger exposits thusly. A few weeks before this miniseries took place, a man-made anomaly was detected within Nemesis' magnetic field. The Q Rangers detected the same anomaly in their universe and sent Stinger to investigate. With this exposition out of the way, we cut to Marvelous exerting the last of his strength trying to pursue Dizord before cutting back to Team Weirdo's room, where Yamato and Kagura are conversing. Kagura asks why Marvelous is so obsessed with tracking down Dizord, and Yamato states that he's just after treasure, or so we think. Before we can find out what his treasure is and why it's so important, Rita reveals that the semifinals have begun. While the B-Block fights, which include Ryu Ranger vs. Ginga Blue and Time Red vs. Gal Black, start up, we cut over to Stinger and Doggy reaching the source of the anomaly, which is protected by a magic circle. The two confirm that not only is this the reason why they can't contact their allies off-world, but it will also prevent them from summoning their mecha. Stinger reveals that one of the books he pulled from the library is written in an ancient text, one that Doggy does not recognize, but is assuredly not from this world. Doggy uses his Morpher, the SP license, to analyze the text and begin to translate it, but says it will take a while. And right on cue, a horde of mucks from various Sentai of yesteryear show up and attack, leading to a decent but short fight scene. Stinger tells Doggy to fall back and contact Yamato, and we cut over to Dizord putting his helmet back on, while someone watches against their will. We cut over to the semi-final match, which ends with Ryu Ranger grabbing the stone. With Team Martial Arts declared the winner, they reassure the other team that they can take care of Dizord. But instead of having them face him, Rita sends them away. We cut over to Stinger finishing off the mooks before being attacked by Dizord, and although he tries his best to fend them off with his CGI scorpion tail, he ultimately fails. Meanwhile, Doggy finds Marvelous and helps him get back to his team's room, where Kagura and Yamato take guesses as to what's going on. Since Dizord had previously appeared in front of Bataharu, who Marvelous calls Twinkle Toes according to the subtitles, it's unlikely that he had betrayed them from the very beginning, since Marvelous states that Dizord had used different people's signature attacks every time they fought, which leads to Yamato wondering if someone else is capturing people and forcing them to wear the armor. Doggy assures them that the answers will come when the ancient text is translated, but for now the one thing they should focus on is working together to put a stop to Dizord. Unfortunately, this promise of teamwork doesn't last long, as Rita reveals that A-Block's semifinal match is going to be Kagura vs. Doggy. Although Yamato and Kagura are both worried about the possible repercussions of this fight, Marvelous and Doggy assure them that it will end up being a good thing in the end. This fight is awesome, actually, as it really utilizes both Doggy's swordsmanship abilities and Kagura's unorthodox fighting style. It's a real treat. Mid-fight, Kagura reveals that her dream is to make a menu at her family's restaurant that everyone can enjoy, even those whose families are her non-existent or just very far apart. With this as her resolve, she uses the power of imagination to finish off the mighty Deca Master. With this fight concluded, Doggy hands over his SP license and a pair of handcuffs and instructs Kagura to give them to Stinger. Right after he leaves, Daizord appears and curb stomps Tadra, but before she's finished off, Marvelous and Yamato appear and another excellent fight ensues, with Marvelous using the powers of Denjiman, Magi Ranger, and Dynaman to weaken Daizord, while Yamato uses the power of Zuo Whale to finish him off. When the helmet goes fine, Bakaharu isn't in the armor. Instead, it's Stinger.
Betrayal!
We quickly cut over to Rita, who is monologuing out loud, evilly, about how she despises justice and will use the wish-granting stones to get rid of it once and for all. We cut back over to Team Weirdo, who got Stinger out of the armor off screen. Stinger explains that Daizord is a sentient suit of armor, constantly seeking out stronger opponents to equip itself to, and that while he was inside it, no, not that way, he saw the armor's memories, which included those of fighting Luca. Unfortunately, the memories were inconclusive as to whether or not she's still alive. Same with Bakaharu. Tadra gives Stinger the SP license, and the now fully translated ancient text is revealed to be a spell to summon Ultimate Dai-Satan. As in, Dai-Satan from Zyuranger. A character named Rita is trying to summon Dai-Satan. The levels of meta in this are off the goddamn charts. Anyway, Yamato tells Marvelous that he still has his friends to worry about, since we all know that is Marvelous's real treasure all along, has always been his friends. But at the same time, we also still have no clue where they could be. But Marvelous states that there is always a way. Right before putting on the Daizord helmet and Gain taken control of. We then cut over to the mysterious Green Ranger and Black Ranger, who appear to be lost, but are then caught by surprise when the Green Ranger's ticket starts glowing and they are transported away. Meanwhile, someone else wielding the same sword as them arrives through a portal and finds the Ryu soul they left behind, ending the episode. This one was really fucking good. It ramps up the mystery and suspense with twists that even I didn't see coming, peppers in just enough fights to keep casual fans interested, and kept the pace at a reasonable speed. Will all of this pay off, or will it all crash and burn? Let's find out in the fourth and final episode! Starts with one last recap, which ends with Marvelous putting on the Daizord helmet. Unlike the previous wielders who equipped the armor against their will, Marvelous is actually able to fight off the armor's effects long enough to let Yamato and Stinger escape, while Tadra follows behind him. After the title card, since the opening didn't play this time, Marvelous finds Luca and Bakaharu and breaks them free, allowing Luca to pick up her Dotai blaster and shoot the helmet off of him. After some quick banter and a cutaway to Yamato and Stinger for some small character development, Luca explains the backstory of Daizord. As was previously stated, the armor itself is sentient, powered by the will of a long-forgotten, wandering warrior race that once conquered the universe in a vain, constant search for stronger and stronger opponents that lasted almost 1,000 years. Although our heroes were able to defeat it, they have no time to celebrate, as an earthquake hits them upon the completion of the Great Gem, and we cut to Rita trying to use said gem to summon Ultimate Dai-Satan. I still can't get over how meta that is! Thankfully, she is stopped by the arrival of Yamato and Stinger, the latter of whom demands to know where the real guardian of planet Nemesis is. Rita states that she sent them to the edge of the universe for daring to get in her way, but that the gems were too powerful for her to get on her own, so she tricked the Super Sentai into getting them for her. Yamato reminds her that she'll also be in danger if Ultimate Dai-Satan is revived, but she's gone completely off her rocker and exclaims that she doesn't care, so long as the entire universe gets dragged into hell. We then get Rita's backstory. She came from a planet that had fallen to evil, and since there was no resources on her planet, no superheroes would come to liberate them from tyranny, and any time a heroic uprising was attempted from within, it would be squashed at the cost of children's lives. This drove Rita into madness and despair, removing her ability to believe in anything, even herself. Stinger attempts to talk her away from the edge with her heroic speech, even recounting how she reminds him of his brother Scorpio and his struggle to defeat evil at the cost of everything. but it all falls on deaf ears, and she attacks them with an energy blast, which somehow causes them to morph. Anyway, we then cut to Rita throwing her staff in an oddly familiar way, I might add, to awaken the CGI blob that is Ultimate Dice Satan and have him start destroying the universe. Yamato and Stinger try to fly up to him, but he blasts them away. Once back on their feet, Rita summons a smorgasbord of motes from older Sentai seasons and sicks them on the two. After a short scuffle, the rest of Team Weirdo arrives on the scene, and we're treated to a great unmorph fight that really plays well to everyone's fighting styles. Seriously, Marvelous is pistol whipping motherfuckers left and right. Bataharu is cutting people up, and Kadra's just like smacking dudes together and throwing them at each other. It's awesome. Once the mutts are all taken care of, it's finally time for the group transformation and roll call! Afterwards, Rita reminds them that they're still facing off against a monster capable of destroying the goddamn universe, but they just say, "Fuck you!" Not really, and power up into their super forms to take him on. We jump over to Luca finding the anomaly and kicking the crap out of the nearby mutts before morphing and taking on the CGI plant monster guarding it. Cutting back over to the main fight, Ultimate Dice Satan tanks all of Team Weirdo's super finishers and knocks them back into their base forms. But thanks to the power of friendship, they gain their second wind and jump back into the swing of things, even infusing the Aka Ranger Key with the full power of Super Sentai. A quick cutaway shows that Luca was knocked out of her Ranger form, but is still able to finish off the monster and pray to the farrier, allowing Marvelous to summon the Gotai Galleon and ram Ultimate Dice Satan, all while the Go Ranger theme is playing in the background, and this all buys them enough time to execute the Super Sentai Special Storm! Basically, the Aka Ranger Key turns into a ball of energy that they all kick to infuse it with their own power before sending it at Dice Satan. Because old school Super Sentai was all about ball finishers for some reason. Anyway, Ultimate Dice Satan is destroyed, but at the cost of their mort forms, which is unfortunate because they still have Rita to deal with, and she is pissed. So much so that she actually summons and equips the Geizord armor onto herself and attacks them. Thankfully, her finisher is interrupted by the Green and Black Ranger we were also following. In case this wasn't already apparent, these two are Ryusoul Green and Ryusoul Black, the brother members of the upcoming 43rd Sentai season, Kishiryu Sentai Ryusoulja. They immediately take the fight to Rita, and man, oh man, do I love this fight scene. It's short, yeah, but it's also extremely well choreographed and shows off the characters of our new Sentai expertly. Green is almost a dance battler with his constant footwork, while Black focuses more on stiff and heavy strikes. Pushing her to her breaking point, Rita attacks the still unmorphed Team Weirdo and takes Kagura hostage. This doesn't last long, as the Ryu soldiers stop her with the power of brand new toys! Ryu Souls. Specifically, Black uses a Mobi Soul to extend his arm and pull Kagura to safety, while Green uses a Hayai Soul to overwhelm Rita with blindingly fast strikes and defeat her once and for all. With the bad guys no longer a threat, our new Sentai brothers take their leave, and Stinger goes to arrest Rita, making one last plea for her to repent for her crimes and learn to smile again before sending her off. The miniseries ends with Team Weirdo saying their goodbyes, Bataharu finding a piece of the Great Gem and giving it to Yamato, and everyone making the promise to meet again someday. The final two shots have someone picking up the Geizord helmet, which tells me we haven't seen the last of the accursed armor, before cutting away to the mysterious man from before, finding the orange Ryu Soul, which turns red in his hand, signaling that he now has one for him. This was awesome! Seriously, I fucking loved this miniseries. The story was compelling, the characters were fun, the fighting, oh my god, the fighting was so good! And we have none other than Koichi motherfucking Sakamoto to thank for that. And on top of all of that, this has me so goddamn hyped for the new Sentai season. If I had to make one complaint, it's that Takaharu was brought back. Yes, he wasn't as painfully insufferable as he was in his own season, But then again, everybody was insufferable in Ninja. Holy shit. There's a reason why I dropped Sentai after Ninja. But whatever, we're not here to talk about that. And even then, he still was the weakest part of this whole spectacle. I honestly don't see why he had to come back over literally anybody else. I mean, for fuck's sake, Kinji's actor was just at the studio for Kamen Rider Zeo not too long ago. You're telling me you could have had him, paid him a little extra to do this too? Come on now. Anyway, hey, that's just one little nitpick, hey, and one negative does not cancel out the insane number of positives that this series has gotten. Seriously, you all need to go watch this, and then hopefully it will hype you up for Ryu Soldier as much as it did for me. Anyway, that is it for this video. I want to thank you all for watching. Please go watch Strongest Battle. Please go watch Ryu Soldier. I promise you'll love it. Anyway, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Support me on Patreon and Ko-fi. And tune in for the next binge watch session, because it's finally going to be time. I will be taking a look at the first 5 episodes of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Phantom Blood. Also, be sure to subscribe to my Twitch, because I'm going to be getting back into streaming. I know I have been slacking off in that department, but I promise you, I will be back, and I hope you all are there to see it. But for now, I say thank you, goodbye, and long live Super Sentai!